Hey everybody, it's Jonathan Silva here with LazyDog Films. Today I'm going to be reviewing Shameless Season 6. Shameless isn't talked about much in the public zeitgeist, but it's one show that should be seen if you have Showtime, and that's the reason why it hasn't been seen as much as some of the other shows like Game of Thrones, which is immensely popular. And then you also have shows like The Walking Dead on AMC, which directly competes with Shameless, which is another reason why people don't know about Shameless. Shameless Season 6 isn't as great as Season 4 or as bad as Season 3. It ranks somewhere in the middle, and that's mainly because there isn't as much drama as I thought it would be. Season 4 was extremely drama heavy, and Season 5 sort of did have that drama, but it sort of backpedaled and was coming more of a comedy, which was how it was marketed when it first came out back in 2011. Here, it's almost straight comedy with bits of drama here and there, and that was one of the main problems that I had with it. One of the other main problems that I had with it was that whenever there is any dramatic tension, for instance, Fiona loses her house, 10 minutes into the next episode, her house is bought again. Some people call it Deus Ex Machina. I call it Carl in the machine with the duffel bag. Mainly because anytime that something happens, something arises, nothing happens or arises or just deflates. Fiona loses the house in one episode, in the last 10 minutes of one episode, and within 10 minutes of the next episode, it's bought again. You have Debbie who drops her baby, and it's gonna be like this scandalous thing. Like, how are they gonna handle a dropped baby? Oh no, the baby's fine. The baby just has a rash because she hasn't been wiping the baby right. It's frustrating, but it's also, what does that say about me that I want this stuff to happen? I'm watching Better Call Saul, and I've seen Breaking Bad, and these shows show us that these writers take chances and push these characters to the brink and to the corner of a wall, and they have to try to climb their way out. And the writers here, because I guess Season 4 wasn't that regarded as a fan favorite, my personal favorite actually, they seem to be taking more of a lighter route than the previous two seasons. So whenever they try to back themselves into a corner, they find a way to not put themselves in that corner anymore. It's kind of a cop-out. I certainly didn't like it. It was one of the main downfalls of the season. One of the upsides of the season is that it is extremely funny. Shameless is one of the funniest, most irreverent shows on television right now, and I can't recommend this show anymore. Frank Gallagher, played by William H. Macy, is one of the worst, most despicable characters to ever see the light of day, and at the same time he is the best character in a show that has ever existed. He is probably one of the only characters in a TV show that doesn't change as the season progresses. Yeah, you had last season with him sort of growing in love with Bianca, who was a woman suffering from cancer. You get that a little bit here in the first couple episodes, but that quickly dies down, and then you get more of the same old Frank, who just wants to have sex, who wants to drink, who wants to do drugs, and doesn't care about anything else. You can view him as a antagonist, but I kind of view him as an anti-hero almost, where he is this character who is despicable, who is despised by every other character in the show, and yet he surprises you in many other ways that kind of shows that he really does care, and he really is looking out for everybody, even though he does it in very unconventional ways. You have the transformation of Ian from someone who is not taking his medication, from being bipolar, to someone who is managing it and managing it well and becoming an EMT. Then you also have that mirrored journey for Lip, played by Jeremy Allen White, who goes from being this kid in college who basically feels like he is on top of the world. Then about halfway through the season, there was this outside force that acts upon Lip, but it's how he acts upon it and how he reacts to it that sort of lends to his change at the end of the season, which is believable. He's turning out to be a drunk similar to his father, and besides Lip, that is the only thing that technically happens in the show. Debbie has a baby, and she's kind of hard-headed on how she wants to take care of it. She's sort of shunning everybody who didn't want her to have it, especially Fiona, whom thought that in her best interest was to abort it. And that's not in Debbie's mind, and that's not in Debbie's plan and what she wants. But it all comes down to the season finale, in which Fiona is getting married to Sean. Fiona played by Emmy Rossum, and Sean played by Dermot Mulroney. Now, Dermot Mulroney has been in the show since season 5, and he's grown to become more of a love interest for Fiona. And Frank comes in at the very end, tells everyone about his transgressions and about every other person, every other family member about their vices in public, which comes down to a very hilarious scene, and one that is possibly one of the best scenes in the show since Frank's monologue at the end of the finale of season 4. The entire season can be summed up in this one monologue at the very end, where he basically calls out Lip for being a drunk, Ian for being, his words, quote, bipolar queer, Carl, who wants to be a brother and not understanding how he was able to get the girl he ended up getting at the end, and that Fiona is, his words, a slut. I had to write this down because this was possibly one of the greatest lines in the history of Shameless.
I love you, Fiona, my little girl. I always accepted you for who you are. With all of your faults, accepted all of you for who you are. Even when you couldn't find a place in your heart to accept me for who I am. We're human. We make mistakes, have faults. And Fiona, my beautiful Fiona, you've let so many men drive up the freeway between your legs. You're gonna have to put an exit sign on your vagina.
But I think Frank comes at it with a little bit of love attached to it, even though it doesn't sound like it does, but it kind of does. He kind of puts Sean in a spotlight that he doesn't want to be in, basically telling everyone, including his son, who he might lose custody of, that he is still shooting up heroin, even though he claims to be clean, which is one of the big things in the season that comes down to what is going to happen in the next season. That's probably going to carry over the most, which is Fiona's alone. The Sean, who is running the restaurant, is not going to be there, possibly not anymore. What does that mean for Fiona's job? What does that mean for her love life? She's been with so many men. Now I'm starting to sound like Frank. She's been in so many relationships that have left her disappointed. What does that mean for her coming into the next season? Now here's why I think that Frank is the anti-hero of the entire season. He's been sort of drugged out away for most of the season, and yet he still pays attention to everyone and everything in the show. It's kind of amazing. He kind of had this omnipotence throughout the entire season, throughout the entire show, and he actually expresses that in the finale. And what I find interesting is that even though he has this sort of disconnection between the family and the family to him, I think he was still able to sort of save Fiona from a broken marriage ultimately in the end. You can say, yeah, Sean was, in love with her and she was in love with Sean, and that maybe they could have worked it out, but what if they can't? Fiona is the type of person who has very strong convictions, and if she has to say something, you very damn well know she'll say it. And Sean, I don't know too much about Sean to get into that, but I know for Fiona, if she was to find out that he was taking heroin, I think that marriage would have been over, said and done. And I think Frank is the one who is the hero to actually save her from going into an agreement that most likely will end up with torn out hair and arguments and fighting. So all in all, it wasn't a bad season, it wasn't a great season, but it was a season that I could probably sit down and watch again through and through, back to back. If you don't watch Shameless, you should definitely watch Shameless. Get a free month trial or something. And this is not an endorsement, but get a free month trial of Showtime and just sit down and watch Shameless from season 1 all the way up to whenever you can to season 6. Order Showtime and watch Shameless. It's a fantastic show. Did you watch Shameless season 6? Did you like it? you didn't like it, tell me what you think in the comment section below. Don't forget to like and subscribe to LazyDog Films. If you want to check out my review of Batman vs. Superman, click at the top here. If you want to check out my review for Better Call Saul, the latest episode, click right here. Click about right here. I have something coming out later in the month that I hope you guys will enjoy. It's something different. It's something I've been working on for just a little bit over a month, and I'm glad I can bring it to you very soon. Don't forget to like us on Facebook, facebook.com/LazyDogFilms, and on Twitter @LazyDogFilmblog. I'm Jonathan Silva, and this has been LazyDog Films.